Welcome to the I Told My Story YouTube channel. I am Grace. We were sitting at the dinner table. I was impatient and wanted to get to the point as soon as possible. Taking a deep breath, I began to speak. "Dad," I said, my voice trembling slightly. "I want the latest iPhone 15 Pro Max. I'm tired of this old iPhone 11. My dad frowned at me.
"Grace, our financial situation doesn't allow for that. Your current phone is perfectly fine. You need to make do with it,"
he said. I stood up angrily. "But Dad, everyone at school has the latest iPhone. Everyone keeps telling me I use an old phone. It's so embarrassing," I shouted. My mom intervened with a calm voice.
"Sweetie, your dad is right. We can't make such a big purchase right now. Your phone is still working fine," she said.
With tears in my eyes, I shouted, "You don't understand. I'm always stuck with an old model phone. Everyone mocks me." My dad's face hardened.
"Grace, there's no point in dragging this out. Our situation is clear."
Tears welled up in my eyes, but my anger remained. "You never understand how I feel. You only do what you think is right," I shouted. My mom, in a gentle voice, said,
"Grace, we are only trying to secure your future. Be patient. Maybe we can buy it later."
I pushed my chair back and stood up abruptly. "Enough! You never fulfill any of my wishes!" I shouted. I quickly got up from the table and headed to my room. I slammed the door and threw myself on the bed. As tears streamed down my cheeks, the anger and frustration inside me wouldn't subside. The next day at school, as usual, I went to Chloe and Eva. Chloe was the richest girl in school and always lived in luxury. Eva was the daughter of the biggest contractor in our city. They both had the best of everything. I always lived in their shadow. Chloe excitedly turned to me and Eva. "Girls, there's a Blackpink concert this weekend. Are you coming?" she asked. Eva quickly replied,
"Of course, I wouldn't miss it. Missing this concert would be crazy."
I hesitated. "I need to ask my parents." Chloe, with a smile on her face, offered, "Girl, if money is an issue, I'll cover it." I couldn't swallow my pride. "No, that's not necessary." "Okay, I'll come," I said. Chloe exclaimed, "Great! The tickets are $2,000. I was shocked. $2,000? I repeated, my eyes widening. Eva excitedly said,
"The price is very reasonable. This concert is unmissable."
But my mind was elsewhere. $2,000 was a huge amount. It was even more than our rent. I started to worry about how I could come up with that money. At that moment, a heavy feeling arose inside me. My family couldn't afford it, and I couldn't ask them for it. But I didn't want to be embarrassed in front of my friends either. I had to find a way. While thinking about how to get the ticket money, I tried to stay strong in front of my friends. But the storm inside me wouldn't calm. When I got home, the ticket price was still on my mind. I sat in front of my computer and started looking for a part-time job. As luck would have it, there was a hamburger place very close to our house looking for someone to help with evening cleaning duties. I immediately applied for the job and received an email within an hour saying I was hired. A glimmer of hope appeared. If I could gather some of the money by the weekend, maybe my dad could cover the rest. At dinner that evening, trying to hide my excitement and anxiety, I began to speak. "Dad, there's a Blackpink concert this weekend, and I need to get a part-time job to buy the tickets." My dad frowned and turned to me.
"Grace, you have an exam next year. You need to come home and study instead of working."
Trying to stay calm, I took a deep breath. "But Dad, this concert is very important. Everyone is going and I want to go too. I can save up for the ticket by working, and if you can add a little, I can go to this concert," my dad firmly said.
"You are not going to work. Your studies are more important."
I paused for a moment, then continued in a sarcastic tone. "Okay, then will you give me the $2,000 for the ticket?" My dad's face turned red.
"This discussion is over, Grace. You are not getting that job."
Angrily, I shouted, "You don't understand anything! I want to earn my own money and I don't want to miss such a big opportunity!" My dad's tone grew even harsher.
"Grace, this is my final word. You will focus on your studies, no job."
After school, I went to the hamburger place and started working, ignoring my dad's words. While cleaning the floors in the evening, I saw Chloe and Eva enter. My heart started pounding. I didn't want them to see me there, so I quickly hid. I didn't want to appear like this in their eyes. I quickly exited through the back door of the hamburger place and started running down the street. After running for 5 minutes, I stopped to catch my breath. While trying to breathe, an old woman sitting at a lottery stand called out to me.
"Are you all right, dear?"
she asked. "I'm fine," I said, out of breath. But a storm was raging inside me. The old woman smiled and handed me a scratch-off ticket.
"Want to try your luck? Just $10,
she said. I reached into my pocket and took out the remaining $10 from my weekly allowance. What do I have to lose? I muttered to myself and took the scratch-off ticket from the old woman. If I found 3 matching amounts, I would win. The woman thanked me and said,
"If you win, don't forget me,"
with a laugh. With excitement, I started scratching the ticket. The first area I scratched revealed $100. The next one revealed $1 million, and then $2,500. Another $1 million appeared. I held my breath. There were 2 more areas to scratch. The next area revealed another $100. Only 1 area was left. The old woman watched with excitement. "You scratched the last one," I told her. The old woman smiled and scratched the last area. I couldn't believe my eyes! $1 million! I had really won! The old woman shouted with joy. "You won! You're rich now!" I took the ticket and quickly left. The old woman called after me. "Don't forget me after you get the money." However, I couldn't bring such a large amount of money home. My dad would take it and deposit it all in the bank without giving me a cent. I thought of Chloe. Her dad was a big stockbroker. Maybe I could consult with him. The next day, I didn't go to school. First thing in the morning, I went to the lottery office and showed my scratch-off ticket. Since I was 18, the process was completed quickly. And an hour later, they handed me $1 million in a bag. When I went to their house, Chloe had just come back from school. I immediately told her what had happened and said I wanted her dad's help. Chloe quickly took me to her dad's home office. When I entered, I saw many screens, and her dad was constantly looking at them. Excitedly, I told him what had happened and asked how I should manage the money. Chloe's dad looked away from the screens and turned to me, his eyes lighting up. "I can invest this money in a stock market for you and multiply it in a short time," he said. Chloe reassured me. My dad is one of the biggest stockbrokers in the country. You can trust him. Thoughts were swirling in my mind. "Okay," I said, "but I just want to take $2,000 out of it to go to the concert this weekend." Chloe's dad smiled, took $5,000 from the bag on the floor, and handed it to me. "Maybe you'll need more," he said. Now I had $5,000. I immediately bought a ticket for the Blackpink concert that would take place over the weekend and bought myself an iPhone 15 Pro Max with the remaining money. At the concert over the weekend, Chloe, Eva, and I had a lot of fun. I took many photos with my new phone. After the concert, Chloe's dad's driver picked us up and dropped us off at our homes. However, I preferred to get off a few blocks before my house. I didn't want my dad to see me in someone else's car. After the driver dropped me off, I started walking home when suddenly, the old woman who sold me the scratch-off ticket appeared in front of me. "How could you forget me? I made you buy that ticket!" she shouted. Ashamed, I started running without saying anything. The $5,000 I got from Chloe's dad was spent on the concert and the new phone, and I had no money left in my pocket to give her. After running for a while and seeing no one behind me, I stopped. I went home and quietly entered my room. 5 minutes later, the doorbell rang. I ignored it, hoping it was just our upstairs neighbor. But when my dad came into my room and called me, I knew what was coming. The old woman had told my dad everything. My dad looked at me angrily. "How could you do this, Grace?" he shouted. "I'm so sorry, Dad," I said, crying. "I thought if I gave you the money, you wouldn't give me any of it." My dad frowned. "We do everything for your future. If you had given us the money, we would have opened a bank account for you," he said. My tears flowed even more. "I gave the money to Chloe's dad. He said he would invest it in the stock market," I said. My dad took a deep breath. "On Monday, we will go to Chloe's house to get the money," he said. "Okay," I said quietly, trying not to forget the disappointment I saw in the old woman's eyes. That night, I struggled to sleep, weighed down by the mistakes I had made. When Monday came, my dad and I went to Chloe's house. At the entrance, the security guards were surprised when my dad said he wanted to see Chloe's dad. One of the security guards, with a surprised expression, said, "They moved out in a hurry yesterday." My dad, in shock, asked, "How can that be?" The security guard explained, "We hadn't been paid for a long time. Chloe's dad had been losing money constantly and owed a lot of people." I was devastated. I had given away the chance of a lifetime to a con artist by not trusting my family. I started crying uncontrollably. My dad turned to me and said, "We are going home." I locked myself in my room that day and cried continuously. When I went to the kitchen for dinner, my family had already started eating. With tear-filled eyes, I sat down at the table. My dad smiled. "Oh, a one-day millionaire Grace has graced our table," he said. I looked at him in surprise. "I'm so sorry," I said. My dad, turning serious, said, "In the end, it wasn't earned money. It was money won from a piece of paper, and you didn't know its value. You can earn it again by working hard in the future. Health comes first, my daughter." I was very embarrassed. Raising my head, I said, "From now on, I will be a child worthy of you." Both my parents smiled. My mom said, "We all make mistakes. The important thing is to learn from them." That year, Chloe never returned to school. I completed my studies with excellent grades and started working at the old woman's lottery stand during the summer. At first, she seemed angry, but she was actually a sweet lady. Sometimes she would give me scratch-off tickets as a gift and say, "Let's see if you can win again," with a laugh. One day, while I was at the stand, someone came and asked for a scratch-off ticket. When I looked up, I couldn't believe what I saw. Chloe, in tattered clothes and disheveled hair, stood before me. "Chloe, is that you?" I asked, and she ran away without looking back. I was left in shock. The old lady turned to me and said, "I guess this time it was someone who owed you," and laughed. I started laughing too, but there was a sadness inside me. In the meantime, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and support us. Bye!